Okay, guys, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the concept of move, breathe, and create. So move, breathe, and create is obviously really special to me. I called the book that after all. But move, breathe, create, the habit of becoming you, why that title means so much is because literally forming the routine of a morning routine set me off. I'm a personal trainer, a guy who wakes up and has been at work for 6 a.m. for nearly 20 years. Like, I literally am out of the house by 5:15 at the latest at any day. So I noticed that my ideal performance state, the time that I'm missing, the time that I have a lot of anxiety over, is because I don't have that just like peaceful time. I literally have built my habits around, I wake up, I hit the alarm, I make coffee, I get my food, everything's kind of already set up and I go. So I've got a pretty good evening routine so that I can hit the floor and hit the gas as soon as my feet hit the floor. So when I was kind of talking about, like, I wish I had more time to be creative, you know, I have problems with stress and anxiety, I feel like I just don't have this me time or any of those kind of stuff. I had my good friend Greg just say, you just gotta wake up earlier. And I mean, I think smoke was coming out of my ears, lasers coming out of my eyeballs. Like, I was just like, there's no way that I could wake up earlier. But he's like, just do it for 5 minutes. Like, all right, I'm gonna set it for like 10 minutes. But if I really wanna get that benefit, if I wanna be able to do a little bit more, I probably need 30. Can I wake up at 4:30, right? Oh man, I'm gonna have to go to bed before 10. I'm an old man, all these kind of things. But what I realized very quickly is that waking up, feet hitting the floor and not having to rush out of the day slowed down the clock of anxiety and stress in my head. Instead of having that alarm, oh, I've gotta go, kind of get into fight or flight or go mode, I began to crave this routine where I literally would wake up, I'd go outside. I'd literally go outside, barefoot, and ground myself. Once again, I live in Florida, so it's kind of like cheating that I can go outside most of the year. But going outside and doing it early helps set your circadian rhythm. There's so much science behind the grounding stuff, but I digress. Anyways, I go out there and I just kind of listen to my body. You know, some days I just get my little shoulder cars. I kind of start here. I stuck in internal and external rotation. I like to do these little Michael Phelps things where I give myself a hug, you know, a couple little forward folds. I just kind of listen. I sway through my hips and I just move my body. I wake it up. So you got to think of your energy or as you, kind of like an antenna, right? So the more that you can get your body kind of in alignment and the more you can get your breath and all these systems going, you can literally radiate at a higher frequency, at a higher vibration. And that's, you know, there's reggae songs and stuff like that, but it's actually, a lot of this stuff is true. And this is some of the stuff that I would tell you about with chakras and learning a little bit about that kind of stuff and demystifying some of this stuff that's a little bit out there or woo-woo. But this energy is real. So getting outside, kind of connecting to the earth, moving my body, waking my systems up, then settling down into a breath session. And that movement, like, you know, a lot of times, sometimes it's like 5 minutes. It's everything I have to do, just get out there and I just kind of like reach over, touch my toes. But I did it, right? It's as easy as that. Okay, so then breathing, you know, I love, especially that morning time, to get about 10 or 15 minutes of meditation or breath work. The science here, especially when it's first thing in the morning, is that when you're sleeping, your brain waves are in this really, really low alpha or theta, meaning your brain's going nice and slow. That's where we can get that REM, that NREM, all that other kind of stuff. But this is the place of dreams, flow, all of those kind of stuff. We'll talk to you a little bit more about the science of flow and how that really is a peak performance state because you're so present. But the breath also forces you to be present. You're already in those low waves. You combine that with that little bit of moving, lining up your antenna. Now you breathe and you just let your system kind of slow down. And when you have that breath practice, that meditation, whatever it does, is it brings your body closer back to homeostasis. You can stay in that parasympathetic nervous system state. And what's amazing there is your body can heal and recover itself, right? So if you had small injuries, big injuries, even chronic illness, that's what's so important. A lot of these things are caused because of having too much stress. So taking that time to breathe, mindful minutes, right? I also talked about it just going outside. Like, you know, call me a hippie if you will. I call myself a naturalist. But I literally go out there and kind of hug the trees sometimes. I put an arm around, I look up, I see what's going on. I do that kind of stuff. I water my plants to see what's going on. I literally talk to them because it's my time with nature and I get out of this prefrontal cortex, this monkey mind that is trying to get me to control, to think, to do all of these kind of stuff. That time where I'm outside, especially if it's first thing in the morning, I don't have any of that stress that could get to me. So it's a wonderful ability to build up adaptive energy, but also get into that flow mind state. That combination of movement and then breath keeps us right there in that sweet spot. And when you're done, and let's just say you moved and breathed for about 10 to 15 minutes combined, and that was it, and that was your morning routine, your brain's gonna be primed to create. And when I say create, really what that means is going back to your goals, what you said you want to do, or something you want to do more of. For example, like I play the guitar. I played it a lot when I was in college and in my 20s. And I basically just stopped playing as I became an adult and had kids and had responsibilities. It's something I de-stressed, something that was a part of me from a time in my life I was really happy. Why is it so hard for me to create or do these things that I love? And that's what EFD is really about, or that's what Move, Breathe, and Create is about, is can I invite people to go back in, to look at those things that they love. Maybe they did them in their childhood. Maybe it's just skills or it's this voice you haven't got out. And it's so simple that, okay, I just have to move forward just that much every day. And if you do that, just like with me, what was crazy is I lost like 5 or 10 pounds almost immediately. People were like, oh my God, what are you doing? What routine are you doing? I'm like, literally my cortisol levels just shut down. My stress levels went down by waking up 30 minutes earlier. That was mind-blowing to me, and I tracked all this data with HRV and my sleeping and all that kind of stuff with the Whoop strap. But what was crazy is I lost that weight. I wasn't working out maybe as hard, but I was moving, breathing, and creating more. And that led me to the point of kind of like a rolling stone gathers no moss. Even if you're listening to this, if you're at the seminar and I'm talking to you for 2 hours, I'm gonna make sure you get up and that you move and you purposely breathe at least twice during that session. The human brain can only focus out of an hour for about 45 minutes. It's actually a little bit less than that. So, you know, of an hour, 25% of your focus is in la-la land, right? Our brain wants to go in this daydreaming idle state. It needs to go to other things. It has processing. It has all of these things that we can do. So when we get to that point where stress or anxiety starts getting us, we can go back to that Move, Breathe, and Create anytime that you want. So as hard as I was working on completing this book, anytime that I could feel like that stress, that anxiety, or even like that brain fog started going, instead of going to another cup of caffeine or trying to find a stimulant that's gonna help boost me up to get energy, I literally would go outside. I would move. I would breathe a little bit. I would come back. 10 or 15 minutes later, my body is ready to go. So I encourage you guys to look at this, especially those of you who are working from home now, is anytime you get that little performance lull, can you get up? Can you do a couple of these anti-sitting exercises that I'm going to teach you? Can you do these things to open up your airways, right? Stress is winning. This is what everybody I train looks like right now. Everybody's doing this, they're staring at their phones, they're doing this, and then they sit in their cozy chairs. Everything's been so hard, and now you're stuck like this. When I'm talking about your antenna, I'm talking about your breath. Now let's go lift weights, let's go do heavy stuff. You're just gonna add strength to dysfunction. So having good posture, to have yourself in alignment is literally everything, right? So if you kind of adjust your antenna or wash your brain a couple times by moving, breathing, and creating your ideal future, moving closer towards your goals, imagine if you did that just one time a day, how would your life be better? Imagine if you did it 2 times a day, how would your life be better? Imagine if you did it almost every hour on the hour. It's just kind of a way of refreshing, checking back in, and getting going again. This is the kind of habits that you can talk about. When I talk about moving, breathing, and creating, I want you to form your ideal operating system. I tell you to flow your own way. I'm giving you these tools. I'm giving you this little bit of structure, that accountability to complete that habit loop. But it's ultimately up to you. If you're not a morning person, don't worry. You don't have to do that morning routine. I'd really encourage you to look into it. But maybe it's your midday, maybe it's your lunch thing. You know, I've identified that my afternoons, like I would come home, I'd be home at 4 in the afternoon, I gotta switch the hat into dad mode or something like that, and I'm just tired, I'm miserable, I'm grumpy, I'm stressed. I wouldn't take that time for myself right then either. But if I come home and I wash my brain and I kind of do this little quick move, breathe, and create session, even if it's 10 minutes, it's amazing how my temperament, my mood, all of these things change. That's why it's so important, is you can raise just awareness of your stress levels in your breath. And that's why exercise really needs to have this paradigm shift. So when I talking about exercise, I had a few people who are like, are we gonna do weigh-ins? Are we gonna do metrics? I'm like, no, we're not. I honestly don't care that much about your physical results, because to me, it's all interconnected. You can't have a healthy brain without a healthy body. You can't have a healthy body without a brain. If those two things aren't friends and your body is that those signals aren't going good both ways, you can't have a healthy spirit. And if you don't have a healthy spirit, you can't be happy. If you're not happy or one of those things is off, you're way far away from that homeostasis. You're gonna be stuck in that stress or that fight or flight thing. That example of how I lost a little bit of weight by just doing this It's because I got back to that ideal operating system. It started giving me that momentum and that courage to do these things I always said I was wanted to do, or to become that person I wanted to do. So movement doesn't have to be crazy. I'm asking for 10 minutes a day. That's it. It can be whatever you want it to be. But you need to look at exercise and what it does for this, not what it does for this. And we're talking about, reducing dementia, creating new cells, so many things. And besides, just endorphins, the angel's cocktail, the fact that you can sleep better when you exercise. Your stress, this pain, this trauma, all of it stays in your body. Moving your body allows it to release. It allows you to get that negative energy, that trapped energy outside of your body. I see it so much. People come in here and they're all stressed out, they're anxious, they're tender. When you get them to move, we have them breathe a little bit, they walk out and they're like ready to tackle their day. So can you make this all a habit? Can you look at movement as this thing and what it does for your brains and your performance versus just what it does for your waistline? It's not about calories in and calories out. It does not work like that. So if you're counting calories and doing some of that kind of stuff, of course there's science between macronutrients. Maybe you need to form from healthy eating habits, but it really is about finding that right place to keep your body in homeostasis as much as possible. Breathing. Once again, it doesn't have to be meditation or intense breath work, but I'm definitely going to introduce you to that. I've got a breathing seminar come up. I'm going to be doing some online breath stuff. I've got a couple of meditations that come with the book. So you have ways that you can check out or you can learn how to do this, right? People are over breathers. We're only supposed to breathe about, the average person breathes between 10 and 14,000 times a day, and that's still too much. That's over breathing. One of my favorite sayings from the XPT certification and from the Oxygen Advantage is breathe light to breathe right, right? A lot of people do the take a sigh or take a deep breath, but that's all through your mouth, and that's not as efficient. We want to breathe as light or as few times as you can a day. The ideal respiratory rate would really be between 4 and 6 breaths a minute. Navy SEALs are trained to keep their respiratory rates and those heart rates down so they can perform under pressure. To get to that 10 to 14,000 breaths a day that I'm talking about, your respiratory rate's going to be closer to 10 or 14 breaths a minute. Mine, even with the breath work and as good a condition I'm in, my respiratory rate's still around 14 breaths a minute. I want it to continue to get that lower and lower. That is literally the health metric that I care the most about right now, is if I can get that better, I know my whole system, everything will work better. Everybody loves the motivational saying, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Right? Well, apparently most people don't want to breathe as bad as they want to breathe because they don't even know how to breathe. They have an improper breath wave. They don't know how to breathe through their nose. They can't even hold exhales. They don't even know how to do any of these things, right? So breath is that one thing that myself as a 40-year-old had been a coach for 20 years. In the last 2 years, all of my information, all of my research is going here is because this is the best way that I can help and improve people's health. It's literally the biggest thing. So when we finish a workout, let's say it is like a high intensity workout, we're going to do a couple stretches, but I'm going to try to get you that breath and get you a parasympathetic response as quickly as possible. That's going to help you recover and get the best results that you want it to. So if you want to talk about getting the best gains, a lot of that really comes from your nutrition, your sleeping, and how well you recover. So breath can mean a lot of different things, but I want you to understand the importance that you need to prioritize it. And then create, we already talked about a little bit, is what is your purpose? What is your why? What do you want to be your legacy? That's what you're creating. You're creating that future that you want. When we talk about your head movie or washing your brain, I've literally had a head movie of this moment of this seminar, me presenting this book, me doing something that I always said I wanted to do, to me following through with it and doing it on a timeline. The process of doing that has been very challenging, but the way I feel in here right now and the way that I'm becoming confident in my voice and I'm letting all these self-limiting beliefs and these attachments and all these other things go is liberating, right? It's been a really challenging period for me, and 2020 has been hard on me like it has been on everybody else, but I can honestly say that I'm coming out of this with more hope for the future than I've ever had because I finally am listening. I'm finally doing what I say I want to do. I found my ideal operating system, and that's what Move, Breathe, Create is. I want you to be able to plug in 10 minutes in each one of those things wherever you want to in your day. It can be separate, but there's so much power in habit stacking and getting them all together and getting a routine. So where does that fit into your day? How can I help you formalize that plan? Can I help you with the breath? Do you need help with the physical stuff? Me and my team are here to help you with that. And the book will teach you all these tools, and I hope that you dive deeper down the rabbit hole. That's what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to help you find the courage to flow your own way.